Welcome to Tale of Deception Studio. I'm Garrett. I used to think love meant enduring anything except abandoning everything and never giving up, no matter how insignificant someone might make you feel. That belief nearly proved disastrous for me. 7 years ago, I met Lauren at a bookstore. She was luminous, self-assured, the type of woman who drew stares when she entered a room. I, on the other hand, was a high school English teacher, introverted, content with my simple lifestyle. When she accepted my invitation to go out, I felt like the most fortunate man alive. She worked in marketing at a tech startup, constantly associated with driven, affluent individuals. I should have identified the red flags during our first year, the subtle jabs about my job, the way she'd present me at parties with an off-handed laugh, but I was too enamored to observe them. 3 years into our relationship, we got married. The wedding was splendid, primarily funded by her parents, who made it evident they considered her settling for me. Years prior, my parents had passed away, leaving me without support when her father jokingly proposed that I should strive to deserve his daughter during a toast. Despite the uncomfortable situation, I maintained a smile, doing so for the first 2 years of our marriage. During this period, Lauren was ascending in her career, and I found solace in my work, overseeing the debate team and running the after-school writing program. With little time to spend together, I justified this as typical for young professionals. However, as Lauren's success flourished, accompanied by a six-figure income while I remained on a teacher's salary, the subtle remarks became more frequent and sharp. When my colleague gifted his wife a BMW for her birthday, I felt a pang of envy. Similar sentiments ensued when colleagues discussed vacation plans or home renovations, leaving me feeling inadequate with our 1990s laminate countertops. Each remark felt like a minor wound. Over time, I suffered from countless hurts. Once I proposed couples therapy to address these issues, only to be met with laughter and the comment that therapy was for those with real problems, not wives who were merely expressing their dissatisfaction. Disheartened, I ceased attempts at resolution. The most painful aspect wasn't just the insults. It was her public delivery of them, performing for an audience. At social gatherings with her colleagues, she would share stories that portrayed me as a joke. Stories about my lack of expensive suits, my aging Honda compared to their Teslas, and how I paid the price for marrying for love. Her friends would chuckle uneasily, some even casting sympathetic glances my way, but no one ever intervened or offered support. I remained silent, never defending myself. After receiving training to endure it, I became the jovial spouse who could chuckle at myself. Comprehending her was discharging frustrations, recognizing she didn't truly intend it, but she did mean every word of it. 6 months ago, Lauren's promotion to senior director brought a significant raise and obnoxious coworkers. She began going out more after work, returning home intoxicated and abusive. One night, she arrived at midnight while I was grading papers at the kitchen table. "You're so dull," she mumbled drunkenly. "Do you realize what my life could have been?" I remained silent. I'd come to understand that responding only exacerbated the situation. I could have wed Trevor from sales. He recently purchased a lake house. A lake house, Garrett. Yet I chose to marry a man whose concept of success is getting a student into state college. I set down my pen and gazed at her intently, truly gazed at her. On a Friday in late September, my heart grew cold as I dined with Lauren, whose scornful gaze and expensive attire belied her contemptuous demeanor. My monthly earnings couldn't match the price tag on her designer dress, and her eyes bore nothing but resentment. In that instant, I accepted I no longer cherished her. I questioned if I ever truly enjoyed her company. But my conviction that marriage was indelible, coupled with the fear of appearing unsuccessful if I surrendered, ensnared me. Lauren had been merciless all week. She scorned my profession on a speakerphone call for their country club application on Monday, derided me in an argument about vacation planning by Wednesday, and humiliated me publicly by criticizing my financial contributions to our household while I was within earshot on Thursday. By Friday, I was drained emotionally. Yet Lauren persisted in dragging me out for dinner. She had a successful work week and desired to celebrate at Marcello's, an upscale Italian restaurant downtown that we couldn't truly afford. I realized that she meant it was beyond our budget, and this would be used against me later, but I agreed since refusing would escalate into a more severe argument. We arrived at 7:30. The restaurant was bustling with elegance, surrounded by the type of individuals Lauren aspired for us to resemble. Our server, Jenna, was a woman in her early 30s with kind eyes and a welcoming smile. She swiftly took our drink orders and left us with menus. Lauren didn't bother glancing at hers. She was engrossed in texting someone, likely one of her work associates. I scanned the prices, feeling my stomach knot up. Entrees start at $40. Order whatever you want, Lauren said without looking away. I'm paying anyway, her remark fell harshly as if a slap. The careless rudeness with which she spoke so dismissively in public caused my face to blush with embarrassment, and Jenna returned with our drinks. Lauren declared her choice, lobster risotto. You, on the other hand, will likely opt for the least expensive pasta available, she commented nonchalantly. Jenna's smile momentarily waned before quickly regaining composure. She recommended the Casio e Pepe, praising its simplicity and execution. I concurred, surrendering my menu to her as she departed. Lauren finally raised her gaze. Your predictability explains why your life remains so insignificant, she snapped. Remaining silent, I took a sip of water, entering survival mode, determined to endure the meal and return home. Lauren continued her verbal assault, but I remained unresponsive. For the following 45 minutes as we waited for our meal and then dined, she systematically deconstructed me, criticizing me for never taking her on exciting outings, for being a source of pity among her friends due to my lack of motivation, ambition, and prospects. She asserted that she'd wasted her youth with someone like me. Frankly, Garrett, who would want you if I left? She declared loudly enough for the nearby couple to overhear. You're 41, earn $48,000 a year, lack social skills and interesting hobbies. You should be grateful I stay. Inside me, something fractured, not shattered, but fissured, letting in a sliver of light I hadn't felt for years. I gazed at her across the table and recognized that I wasn't enraged, merely exhausted, tired of feeling insignificant, tired of justifying my existence, tired of this woman who vowed to love and respect me yet spent years belittling me instead. You're correct, I responded softly. I ought to be thankful. She looked surprised at my words. Nope, nothing. I finished my drink and signaled for the bill. Jenna brought it over in a black leather folder, placing it on the table between us. Lauren grabbed it promptly, flaunting her credit card, as Jenna glanced at me and smiled, not the usual professional smile, but a kind one. She bent slightly while picking up the folder with Lauren's card inside. I hope your evening improves, she whispered softly before disappearing, unnoticed by Lauren, who was engrossed in her phone, likely texting about my poor dinner companion skills. I felt empty, pondering how long I could continue living like this if I'd even recognize myself in 5 years. Jenna returned a few minutes later with the receipt. She positioned the item before Lauren, expressed gratitude for our presence, and upon departing, deposited a compacted slip of paper beside my palm on the table. I stared in puzzlement as she retreated. Ignoring her remark, Lauren collected her purse as she murmured, "It's time to leave." The place was exorbitantly priced, so I picked up a note hidden beneath the table. Written neatly, it read, "You merit far more than how she mistreats you." Beneath it, Jenna had provided her phone number with the words, "If you ever want to speak with someone who values your worth." My heart raced at the sight. Jenna was attending to another table, looking my way with a tender smile. There was no hint of flirtation in her expression. Instead, it exuded genuine compassion. I realized she had witnessed the insults, humiliation, and disrespect, yet rather than pitying me, she acted. I tucked the note away and stood up. "What's taking you so long?" Lauren snapped back. As I began to walk towards the door, Lauren's phone rang, causing her to answer with a fit of laughter. Suddenly, she had neglected to zip her purse properly, leading several items to spill onto the restaurant floor when she gestured while talking. Her phone, lipstick, wallet, and the dinner receipt were now strewn across the tile floor. I automatically bent down to assist in gathering everything, with Jenna joining me from a distance. She had observed the incident from across the room. As we both knelt picking up Lauren's belongings, Jenna found the receipt, which contained a handwritten note with her phone number attached to it by a paper clip. Her eyes widened upon discovery, and she glanced at me, realizing that Lauren was about to see what she had done. However, it was too late as Lauren completed her call and looked down at us, demanding, "What are you doing? Give me my stuff." I handed Lauren her wallet and lipstick, while Jenna remained standing, still holding the receipt with the incriminating note visible. Momentarily considering concealing the note, she didn't. Instead, she handed it entirely to Lauren with an unruffled demeanor. Lauren grabbed it swiftly without much inspection, promptly returning it to her purse as we neared the exit. On the verge of leaving, she abruptly withdrew the receipt again to confirm the tip, a routine due to her lack of trust in my calculation abilities. It was then she noticed. The note, my name at its head, the phone number, the message, "You deserve better." Her countenance paled, then reddened, and she whirled so swiftly I feared she might lose balance. "What on earth is this?" The restaurant fell silent, all conversations ceased, every gaze turned toward us. Pardon me, Jenna calmly said, approaching. Lauren waved the note, her hand trembling with fury. You provided my husband your phone number. Are you joking right now? Undaunted, Jenna remained unmoved. I, in a situation of public humiliation, reminded her that she holds worth. Affirmative. You're mistaken, Jenna whispered, her voice laced with venom. I was your server for an hour, she explained softly. Everything you said to him, ridiculing his job, his earnings, his worth, I heard it all. You treated him as if he were beneath you, and I thought someone should inform him that's not normal, not love, but abuse. The phrase echoed in the air, unshakable. Lauren's lips moved, but no words came out. You cannot, she began, her husband mentioned hesitantly. Then act like it, Jenna retorted calmly. She looked at me with eyes brimming with empathy. You don't need to endure this, nobody does. And then she vanished into her section, leaving us frozen in the doorway of Marcello's, every spectator gazing in stunned stillness. Lauren glared at me, her face contorted with humiliation and rage. We are departing now, she declared. But I remained unmoved. For the first time in 7 years, I did not instantly comply. With Jenna's words reverberating in my mind, I stood there amidst a crowd of unfamiliar faces who had just witnessed my wife's cruelty. A feeling coursed through me, something I hadn't experienced for what seemed like an eternity. It was anger, not the fiery, volatile kind, but the frosty, enlightening kind that dissolves excuses and uncovers truth. No, I muttered softly. Lauren fixed her gaze on me. What did you just say? I retorted. No, I'm not leaving with you. Her laughter was shrill, panicked. You're being absurd. The waitress was out of line and you're humiliating us both. You were the one who humiliated me, I replied, my voice unwavering despite my pounding heart. For years, you've humiliated me in front of friends, family, strangers in restaurants. You told me time and again that I'm worthless, unwanted, and should be grateful for your tolerance. And I believed you. Now the patrons were openly gawking, but I no longer cared. Tonight, a stranger whom I've never encountered before gazed at me for a quarter of an hour and concluded that I merited fundamental human compassion. She put her job at risk to convey to a stranger his worth. And what this act made clear to me, tears brimmed in Lauren's eyes, yet they were tears of rage and shame, not regret. It clarified for me that you are mistaken on every count. I'm not worthless. I'm not incapable of love. I am not fortunate to have you. I'm a decent man who has been treated abominably by someone who vowed to cherish me. And I've had enough, she murmured softly. You are overreacting. People are watching, let them watch, she said, calling for a new lawyer. On Monday, I will call a divorce attorney, her face twisted. You cannot do this, not here, not in this manner. You caused this, I said. Every time you told me I was nothing, every time you made me feel insignificant, every time you opted for cruelty instead of kindness, you brought about this moment. I departed from her and ventured out into the crisp September night. I heard her weeping and calling me while hiding my face, but I didn't look back. My hands trembled as I fetched my phone to call a ride. Standing on the sidewalk, I struggled to comprehend what had transpired. The restaurant door creaked open and Jenna emerged. She wasn't meant to leave her shift, but she approached me regardless. Are you all right? She queried. I managed a sound that was partly laughter, partly sobbing. I'm unsure. I believe so. That was valiant, she completed. That was truly valiant. I apologize if I caused trouble for you, she shook her head. My supervisor had seen the entire scene unfold. He stated that any employee who defends a person being mistreated earns his unwavering support. Moreover, there are times when jobs take second place to other matters. My ride arrived as indicated on my phone. I gazed at Jenna, a stranger who showed me more regard in one night than my spouse had in years. Thank you for the message, for speaking up. I don't think anyone has ever done that for me before. Everyone deserves someone standing by their side, she responded softly. I wish you'll stumble upon something more prosperous. As I drove away, the restaurant faded from view. My phone vibrated persistently with messages and calls from Lauren, yet I chose to silence it. That evening in a commonplace hotel room, I felt fear and liberation simultaneously. The divorce spanned 4 months. Lauren resisted at first, weeping and apologizing, swearing to alter, but her vows echoed emptily after years of cruelty. Her kin blamed me, asserting that I was deserting their daughter over one issue. A difficult night, yet the essence of abuse is not just a single distressing incident. It's countless minor wounds that you don't recognize as draining your strength until someone holds up a mirror and shows you. My colleagues at school were incredibly sympathetic. It seemed many of them had observed how Lauren behaved towards me at school events and were concerned. The debate team students made me a card that read, "Teachers are heroes," which brought tears to my eyes. My students acknowledged my value even when I failed to see it myself. I didn't contact Jenna. Her actions weren't driven by initiating something new, but rather ending a toxic situation. However, I did visit Marcello 3 months later to express my gratitude towards her sincerely. She appeared pleased to see me and mentioned that I seemed different, lighter. We shared coffee, and she confided in me that she had ended a harmful relationship 2 years ago and identified the warning signs. That was her motive for intervening. Lauren attempted to reconcile on 2 occasions during the divorce proceedings, but each time our conversation ended with her hurling insults at me. Some individuals are incapable of change because they don't accept their wrongdoings. She attributed the demise of our marriage to my oversensitivity, discarding years of commitment due to a stranger's opinion, and failing to appreciate all she had provided me. Not once did she apologize for her mistreatment. The divorce was finalized on a Thursday in February. Emerged from the courthouse with the sensation of finally drawing a deep breath after years, at 42, embarking anew but this time authentically, no longer as someone else's punching bag nor as one who accepted contempt. I remain a high school English teacher, drive a decade-old Honda, and maintain a modest lifestyle, finding joy in life's basic pleasures. However, the change is substantial. I now appreciate these aspects of my life, knowing they are enough, that I am enough. Dating casually has begun, though not seriously thus far, but the transformation is striking. Kind women do exist, as do those who treat their partners with respect, realizations long lost amidst a prolonged struggle for breath. Last month, a student inquired about the most important lesson I'd ever learned. After pondering various literary gems and teachings, my response veered unexpectedly. It was something else entirely. The most significant lesson I imparted is that people learn to be treated as you allow them to treat you. If you tolerate cruelty for too long, you may come to believe you deserve it, but this isn't true, nobody does. My student listened thoughtfully, and I hoped they would retain that knowledge. I wish they wouldn't encounter a situation where someone claiming to love them would belittle them in a restaurant. But if they did, I hope they would have their own Jenna, someone courageous enough to say, "You deserve better than this because everyone does, all of us." My name is Garrett, and I once thought that love meant enduring anything. Now I understand that genuine love never requires you to diminish yourself. Real love doesn't exploit you in front of others. It was a stranger's kindness that eventually showed me my worth, something 7 years of marriage failed to do, that I was worthy of protection. If you find yourself in a relationship that repeatedly tells you your value is insufficient, where empathy is scarce and cruelty prevails, and your worth is quantified by income or social standing, listen carefully. You merit more than this. You deserve a partner who uplifts rather than belittles, someone who offers love authentically, not a punishment for imperfection. If those who profess their affection can't convey this truth to you, then let me, an internet stranger, do so. You are sufficient, absolutely as you are. Don't allow anyone to persuade you otherwise, not even the one who vowed eternal love.